pass on? After class, let's do that. Okay, good. Remind me if I forget. Okay, good. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. And we welcome Linda back. Linda had a bit of a fall, and
Bones are all healed.
good. Baruch Hashem. Good. Welcome back. How are you? Good. Thank God. Doing great. Okay. Good. Andrew Savion. Nice. Good.
Have some youth in here. I like that.
Things moving ahead with Amitai, I think. Yeah. Sweet. Okay. B'halotcha. Thank you, Dov, for setting this up for us over here. And Parshat B'halotcha has loads of stuff. Loads of stuff going on. Actually, Parshat B'halotcha is unique. It is the only Parsha in the Torah which actually is comprised of 3 different books of the Torah. Now we all know, or think we know, that there are 5 books of the Torah. Chamisha Chumashim. It's called a Chumash because the root of the word Chumash is Chamesh. There we go, Marta. Right? So it is the Pentateuch. Pentateuch. Okay. Yes. Penta, as in a pentagon, right? There are five parts to it. Okay. However, and we're not going to focus on this. We focused on this in the past, but I just do want to point it out. Right. The Pentagon is a 5-sided building, I believe. Right. That's how it gets its name. If you take a look at page 786 for a moment, page 786, you have something that is very, very bizarre. You have 2 verses, you have to look in the Hebrew, that are set off by upside down nuns.
Where?
Page 786. Okay, you have to look in the Hebrew. Right? Those 2 verses, Lam Hey Lamed Vav, 35-36, are 2 verses that are set off by upside down nuns. In the Torah itself, those 2 psukim verses are set aside by upside down nuns before and after it. And our sages teach us that that is set aside because this is its own sefer, its own book of the Torah.
Right, those 2 verses.
Those 2 verses.
Why is it with a nun?
So nun, that's a whole class I don't want to go into. Okay? Either well, let's say simply because 50 paragraphs back would have been the proper place for it to be. Okay, nun is a gematria of 50. Okay, now if these 2 verses become their own book, then how many books of the Torah do we have? We have Bereshit, we have Shemot, we have Vayikra, we have Bamidbar until this point. We have these 2 verses, we have Bamidbar after this point, and we have Devarim. So we actually have, according to this, our sages say, 7 books of the Torah. Now, what these 2 verses are their own book? What does that mean? And actually, there is a teaching that ultimately, in the world to come, when we are studying Torah in the world to come, many, many years from now, Tuesday mornings, 9 o'clock, I expect to see all of you, right? And we'll continue to study, right? So this book, these 2 verses will be the largest, the most involved and intricate book of the entire Torah. Why is that?
And what does it
What does it say? That's a good point. Let's deal with that. Baruch atah Adonai le'melech shakol niyot baro.
That's the opening of the ark.
Okay.
What about
These should sound familiar. Yes, Rachel.
Where is that equivalent? What verse is it?
35-36. Right, 35 is Vayihi bin Aaron, Vayomer Moshe, Kuma Hashem, V'yafutzu Oivecha, V'yanusu Misanecha, Mipanecha. Should sound familiar. If it doesn't, start to come Shabbos morning, 10 a.m., and it will sound familiar. Okay? Vayihi bin Aaron. When the ark would journey, Moses said, "Arise, Hashem, and let your foes be scattered. Let those who hate you flee from before you." The next pasuk is, so that's what we say when we take the Torah out from the ark. And when we put the Torah back into the ark, Uvnucha Yomar Shuva Hashem Rivavot Alfei Yisroel. And when arrested he would say, "Reside tranquilly, O Hashem, among the myriad thousands of Israel." So these are the verses that we say. We take the Sefer Torah out, we take the Sefer Torah, and we put the Sefer Torah back into the ark. Well, I'm sorry?
Are we taking a journey when we walk the Torah?
Yes, I don't know if it's because of this, but certainly we want to give everyone, a chance to partake of that Torah. So these
wording when the ark would journey.
Yes. When the ark would journey. Thank you, Stu. Is talking about in the wilderness when we would travel. So the ark, the entire Mishkan tabernacle, was deconstructed and was carried, and the ark would travel. But this also represents, on a greater level, Vayihi ben Aaron, Vayomer Moshe, when the Aron, we are the bearers of this Aron, of the ark. And this is talking about Jewish history. This is talking about Kuma Hashem, arise Hashem, let your foes be scattered, let those who hate you flee from before you, until ultimately we will reach the point of Uvnucha Yomar. Reside tranquilly, O Hashem, among the myriad thousands of Israel. This is a snapshot of Jewish history, of travels and travels and travails throughout, until ultimately we're going to come to our resting place, until the time of the Mashiach, of the Messiah, and the ultimate revelation of God in this world. Why would this be the main focus of study in the world to come? Why will this be the book that is the most intricate book when we're studying Torah in the world to come? Well, let's understand. Studying, there's a teaching, the Talmud says, that a child in the womb learns the entire Torah. Right? And an understanding of that is Torah is the knowledge of the spirituality, of that which exists beyond that which we can touch and sense and feel, but the whole spiritual underpinnings of this universe. The child, before they are born, that neshama, that soul, is still in the spiritual realm. And therefore, it is aware, it is knowledgeable of, it learns, it knows the entire Torah. It has absolute clarity about the world, about the mission of why it's coming into this world, what it is meant to do during its stay in this world, before it will return back to its place in the world to come, in the spiritual realm. It knows the entire Torah, it learns the entire Torah. Once it's born, the child forgets. I think Rav Dessler says that it is the reality of Olam Hazeh, of this physical world, that makes it forget. And our life is meant to be a journey, a lifetime of regaining that. Right? And that, of course, we ultimately take with us after 120 years when our soul returns to the place from where it came. So when we're talking about learning Torah, we're talking about understanding the full spirituality, right? And as wise and as knowledgeable as a person is, when they are in this world, They cannot fully attain that. I mentioned last night at davening, Dov, right? That Moses reached the 49th level of wisdom, but he cannot hit the 50th level. As long as he was in this world, he cannot have that absolute knowledge. But where is Moshe buried? On Har Nevo. Har Nevo, the Mount Nevo. But Nevo in Hebrew is Nun Bo. Nun is 50 Bo. At that point he arrived at the 50th. So if that's before we're born, how about afterwards? What is the Torah that we're studying in the world to come? So the Torah we're studying is the understanding of the spirituality that is all contained in the Torah. But these two psukim and the book, the expanded book that will become, will be the Torah that we're going to study, and we're going to understand each thing that the Jewish people went through during our long odyssey, our long, arduous, tragic, difficult odyssey. We're going to see how every single step of the way was all part of what's called Gilui Yichudo, as all part of revealing Hashem's oneness, revealing Hashem's presence. That which was the most horrific will understand exactly what role it played and how every detail of that was not haphazard, was not just happening, but every aspect was measured down to the smallest unit. And that's for the national life, and that's for our personal lives also. Also when we had Vayhi ben Soar, when our travels and our challenging, until we reach personally the point of a venucha, of coming to rest. So that's going to be the most amazing study that we will, Bez Hashem, be doing together 9 a.m. Tuesday mornings. Right? Looking back on the world and understanding all that took place, all that transpired. You know, we actually sing very beautifully at the end of the Aleinu. We say, V'ne'emar v'haya Hashem l'melech al kol haaretz, as it said, V'ne'emar, it said, V'haya Hashem, God will be the king over all the land. Vayomahu, on that day, Yeh Hashem echad, God will be one, u'shmo echad, and his name will be one. What is meant when we say his name will be one? Well, right now God has many different names because there are many different ways that he relates to us. So we have general categories. We have the name or names of God that refer to compassion and kindness, chesed and rachamim. And we have those names of God that refer to din, judgment, gevura, strength. We have Hashem and we have Elokim. At that point, his name will be one. There'll only be one name of Hashem. What will that one name be? Racham. But we don't understand that. Are you telling me this? Are you telling me that? It's hard even to say the words. Are you telling me that a Holocaust was Rachamim, was compassion? You're telling me that a pogrom was Rachamim, was compassion? You're telling me that a child's, an infant's illness that might lead to an early death or might lead to a lifetime of difficulty. Right? We can't see that. We can't see that. And only Bayom Hahu, only at that time when we have the opportunity, the ability to see it. Right now, we see the absolute opposite of all of that. And that's what these two psukim, these two psukim will become the greatest sefer, and the most fascinating and riveting, and talk about a suspense, or talk about, who was it? Was it O'Haley? Who was the short stories?
Oh, Henry.
Oh, Henry. Right, where it never ended up where you expected it to end up, right? This will be the most unbelievable of any Sfarim. That will be the sefer that we're going to learn at that time. Okay, so this parsha has that, This parsha also has how we went from good to bad and all the complaints. I mean, it is just packed and packed and packed. However, let's deal with the very beginning. And I think there's a lot that we can learn, and there's a lot that I'd like to hear from you. So let's go from the very, very top. Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe Lamor. And Hashem said to Moshe, saying, who'd like to lead off for us in Hebrew? We're back to 774, I apologize. Back to 774. Who'd like to lead off for us? Come on, someone here, don't be bashful. Marta, take it away.
ידבר השם אל משה לאמור, דבר אל אהרון, אמרת אליו,
בהעלותך
את הנרות אל מול פני המנורה והעירו שיבת הנרות.
Good. This is your parsha. This is about lighting the lights. Right? This is you and Melvin over here. Right? What could be more apropos? Take one more. Vayaskein Aaron.
ויעשה כן אהרון אל מול פני המנורה האלה נרותיה כאשר ציווה השם אל משה.
Good. Okay, Linda, welcome back. You want to take the first couple for us in English?
Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, speak to Aaron and say to him, when you kindle the lamps toward the face of the menorah, shall the 7 lamps cast light. Aaron did so toward the face of the menorah. He kindled its lamps, as Hashem had commanded Moses.
Okay. So, we're talking about the menorah over here. So, famously, the last parsha ended off. If you take a look and keep the place here, take a look at page 766. We had, or 767 in English, the dedication offerings. Right? Each tribe's leader brought a special gift to the Mishkan, to the tabernacle as it was being inaugurated. And take a look at verse 12. Right? His offering was, Ali, welcome back also. You want to take that for us? Verse 13 on page 767.
His offering was 1 silver bowl, its weight 130 shekels, and 1 silver basin of 70 shekels. In the sacred shekel, both of them filled with fine flour mixed with oil for a meal offering. 1 gold ladle of 10 shekels, filled with incense. 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1 sheep, in its first year of an elevation offering. 1 he-goat for a sin offering, and for a feast peace offering, 2 cattle, 5 rams, 5 he-goats, 5 sheep in their first year. This is the offering of Nachshon, son of Amminadab.
Good. So we have 6 psukim there of the exact gift that he gave. Now, on the second day, Netanel and Tzur offered, leader of Yisachar, sound familiar? 1 silver bowl, 130 shekels, 1 silver basin, both of them filled with fine flour, 1 golden ladle, incense, bull, ram, sheep, he-goat, and 5 this, 5 this, 5 this. So another 6 psukim with the same exact thing. 769 on the third day, the leader of children of Zvulun, same exact. On the 4th day, Ruvain, same exact. 5th day, 6th day, 7th day, 8th day, 9th day, 10th day, 11th day, 12th day, we're on 773. Same exact offering. And the Torah is spilling 72 verses of ink, repeating the same exact offering that each one brought. 72 verses, 12 times 6, right? 72 verses of ink are being spilled to teach me the same exact thing being brought by everyone. And many, this is always good material for a bar mitzvah boy, but many things are said about this, right? One of them being the importance of the individual, Right? You know, I might think, oh, I come to davening, but so many of the people are davening, and I'm davening here, and the other shuls people are davening, and around the world the people are davening. There are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who are davening. Does it make a difference if I come, or if I just may sleep in and don't bother coming? And the answer is yes. Every single person makes a tremendous difference. And the fact that the other 11 brought the same gift, we're not going to say, oh, well, they did the same. No, each one gets full billing. But of the 12 tribes mentioned here, which tribe is left out? Levi is left out. So how do we have 12?
We have 13.
So how do we have 12 then? How do we have 12 if we left out Levi?
Ephraim and Menashe.
Good. Ephraim and Menashe. Beautiful. That's what you said?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Right? Yosef. If we're counting Levi as one of the tribes, then we're counting Joseph as one of the tribes. And then we have the 12 children of Jacob, of Yaakov. If we're not counting Levi, then we count the children of Yosef, Menashe and Ephraim. Yosef becomes 2. He becomes the Bechor, the firstborn, double portion in that respect, as he was the firstborn from Rachel, from his mother, right, from the wife that Yaakov had actually worked 14 years for Rachel. Okay, so the tribe that was left out was the tribe of Levi. Levi, of course, is comprised of Kohanim and Leviim. They are all from the tribe of Levi. And the Medrash says, Rashi brings it, that Aaron saw the beautiful gifts that every other tribe brought and felt that he and his tribe was underrepresented. Everyone else had the glory of this beautiful donation, and his tribe did not have it. And Rashi famously brings the Medrash that Hashem said to him, you will be lighting the menorah. You too have your avoda. But what I want to focus on...
Levi's tribe was not allowed to bring?
They weren't called upon to bring, because they were the ones who were doing the avoda, the service on a constant basis. Right? You know, these things that were brought were now for they were all brought for the consecration of the Mishkan that they were in charge of.
But they were not required, or they were not allowed?
That's a good question. That's a good question. No one was required, right? Could they have stepped forward?
They could have.
Well, it seems not, right? Because if that were the case, then these always work as the tribes, as groups of 12. And once, I'm not sure, it seems once Menashe and Ephraim had brought, then that was the division of the tribes. They were not going to be bringing it. It seemed clear that they were not meant to be bringing this. Yes, Dov?
I think because they're doing the Avoda for all of them.
Yeah, but she's asking, could they have also? I understand that, I agree with that, Dov. The question is, could they also have? Or not?
But they actually did the most because they were participating every day.
Yes.
The offering of every time.
Yes. But could they have? That's a question that I'm not sure about.
That's what I'm wondering, because they weren't working and gathering wealth like everybody else, were they?
Of course they were gathering wealth.
When you say gather, how is everyone else gathering wealth?
Because they all have flocks, they're all working, but these people were studying and learning.
Well, not so much at that time, right? In the Midbar, we weren't really gathering wealth. Whatever wealth we had gathered was as we had left Egypt and by the Yam, and by the splitting of the sea. I don't know if we were gathering wealth. Though interestingly enough, right, we do find as we're entering Israel, this is 40 years later, as we're entering Israel, so we find that that the tribes of Gad and Reuven had many flocks. Right.
And flour.
And flour.
Flour. They have flour.
Gad and Reuven?
I mean, all.
No, I'm just saying we find that there were two particular tribes who had many flocks, and
That's a
therefore,
measure of their wealth.
yes, that is interesting. Yes, Jan?
Historically, Goshen was a place that was good for pasturing and fertile, where we were.
Yeah.
So before the enslavement, we did have something, and maybe some of those survived to reproduce.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, what we took out of Egypt. I don't know if we look at the wilderness as a place, at the desert as a place of our amassing wealth.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
at the Midbar, some of those
Yeah.
animals may have reproduced.
Yeah, that's what we said
But
before,
what
that
about
Gad and
flour?
Reuven.
Where did they get flour?
So the flour that they had there was from the processing of the man, we learned. That they would take the man and they would grind it up. That's also in this week's Parsha. The complaints about the man. Yeah, a lot going on. I want to focus on the third pasuk. A very strange pasuk. Vayas Cain Aharon. And Aaron did this. Right, to the face of the menorah, he kindled his lamps as Hashem had commanded Moses. Now, we have many commands in the Torah. And I think the general working assumption is that whoever was commanded to do basically went ahead and did it, right? When they did it, we'll hear about it. Yet the pasuk seems to be emphasizing Vayas Cain Aaron, and Rashi takes it a step further. Rashi says, the English doesn't work on it at all. Okay, I'll read in the Hebrew. Vayas Cain Aaron. La'agid shvacho shel Aaron shelo shina. To teach us the praise of Aaron. He did not change it at all. He did not deviate. Now, I would imagine most of us, if we're standing in front of Moses, and Moshe says to us, God told you to do this, I imagine most of us would go ahead and do it. Okay? Here we are a few thousand years later. It's not quite as easy. But, then I think it was pretty straightforward. God said you should do this. We go ahead and do it. What is this great praise of Aaron? Sheloshina. The great praise of Aaron. Right? We're spilling some more ink. Vayas Cain Aaron. Aaron did this. Rashi, this tells us the praise of Aaron Sheloshina, that he did not deviate at all. What is the great praise of Aaron that he didn't deviate? Sheloshina. He did not change. He did not deviate. Yeah, Jan.
Like I said, I would ask for instructions to make sure I actually did everything exactly right. So he was probably very, very careful and detail-oriented to make sure he...
Okay, I hear that. But, again, I would imagine that's the case in most situations where there was a command to do and they did it.
I'll remember and I'll do it, and they might leave a teeny thing out. So, some people might say,
okay,
I'm good.
I hear that. Again, I don't hear that is, so overwhelming that we needed to emphasize it over here.
Is it an ego thing?
Meaning what? Let's hear.
Just meaning that I think if I do even more, then Hashem will appreciate it better.
And therefore he did more or did not do more?
Well, no, not him, but like in the future, Hashem is praising the idea that you're not adding your own ideas into what we're told to be doing.
Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting approach. Right? He didn't decide that he was going to, certainly after the bitter death of his two sons, who went ahead and tried to do their own interpretation, their own vision of what it is that God would want. So Aaron was sure, was careful, shelo shina, right? He was not going to put his own his own personality, his own. I mean, I don't want to use that term because we do put our own personality into what we do, and that's what makes it us. That's what makes it unique. That's what makes it ours. But he didn't change at all from that which he was commanded and prescribed to do.
But I think that even goes further toward today because a lot of people can just look at the commandments and say, well, they didn't have electricity back then, but we have it now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That certainly speaks to this world today that it's not what makes sense to us, it's not our interpretation, right? It's shaloshina. So it's not to change. Very nice.
It seems that when Aaron followed Hashem to the letter of the law, to everything, he transcended, we talked, Cheryl, to ego, but it was also that he had a great deal of love and respect for what God says because it's the ultimate correctness. It's what is right. It is emes, it's truth. And he knew that it was truth. So everything else paled in comparison to Hashem's truth.
Nice approach. I thought you were saying something else by the ego, which is also a nice thing. Yeah, Rachel and Dov.
I was just reading on page 774, Rashi's explanation, commentary. It looks like Aaron's tribe was not allowed to give a dedication.
Okay, going back to that. Yeah, they were not allowed to.
The commentators discuss why this passage regarding the menorah is placed immediately after the long recitation of blah blah blah. Citing Midrash, Rashi comments that Aaron was chagrined that every tribe represented by its leader had a role in dedicating the new tabernacle, while he and his tribe of Levi were excluded.
Okay, so yes, that's what it said. Yeah, so it seemed that he wasn't able to.
He was
right? Yeah.
Able or allowed?
Yes, he wasn't allowed to. He could not. Move in, Sonny.
Yes, I can.
Okay, you're in?
Yes.
Okay, good. I think he was saying something. Oh, Dov, yes.
Oh, what I was going to say is just like in Nassau, the dedication of all the tribes, the first one set the stage for whatever's going to happen after. Here he says, I have to set the stage exactly how...
What's going to come afterwards.
Nice.
What I think you were saying, Cheryl, was also a nice idea. Shaloshina, he didn't change, right? So that can mean he didn't deviate from that which he was instructed to do, or he didn't change. How often, do we know a person at a certain point in their life, and then they become a big time, whatever it might be, and then you meet that person, and oh boy, right? They are quite different, right? Things in life, things go to our head, right? And we act in a very different manner. We feel differently about ourselves. And here is Aaron being tasked with the menorah, with the lighting of the menorah. He's the Kohen Gadol. We'll come to that soon. He's in charge of everything. He can delegate, but he is the man. Here is the dedication of the Mishkan. The dedication of the Mishkan, the mobile Mount Sinai, where God's presence is going to be tangibly felt and encountered. Incredible. Moshe went up and down Har Sinai. Aaron is the one who is going to be tending to this mobile Har Sinai on a daily basis. What an honor, what a privilege, what an elevation. Shaloshina. Right? Aaron did. Right? He did it as Hashem commanded Moshe. He didn't become a different person. His humility. Aaron is known for his humility. Right? What is the midah of Aaron? Ohev Shalom. Loves peace, but it's not enough to love it in the abstract. Rodef Shalom. He takes the steps the energy to pursue peace. Oyer Shalom, Rodev Shalom, Umekarev et Brios Litova. Right? Thank you. And he brings people closer to Torah. Right? That was Aaron. And Aaron's humility was his ability to understand each person, to make the Shalom. Famously, after Aaron's death, it says all of Beit Yisroel mourned him for 30 days. Right? The whole house of Israel. The house of Israel referring to the families, to the Shalom Bayit that he was able to bring about, the domestic home tranquility that he was able to bring about. So Aaron, with this great position, Lo Shina, right? He remained humble. He remained the same person. Others, any other ideas?
Yes.
Yes.
It's just the beginning. Let's look at him 30 years later. Maybe he'll become a little bit more self-important.
Okay. So I hear that. So maybe it is testifying Shaloshina. He did not change, right? It's only day one, but only God can testify about the future. So maybe it's even addressing that. Okay? Now, another idea is, by Chanukah, right? By Hanukkah. So some people use, growing up I used to use candles, the nice colored candles, got to pick out which color I wanted to use, right? And then the best way to do the mitzvah is by using olive oil. Okay? Olive oil, because that's actually how the miracle took place in the Beit HaMikdash. So you use the olive oil. Now they sell these very nice, ready-filled olive oil little cups, right? And basically you light them and then you get rid of them and then the next night you put. But the good old way is with, you have the wicks and you put the wicks in and you
make them by hand with cotton.
Yeah. I never got made with cotton.
First
but you actually shear the sheep, right?
The old days?
Yeah. But you get a little bit dirty. You get oily, right? You're pulling out the old wicks, which are charred. You're getting oily. You're getting a little bit dirty from it. It's not the cleanest work. And many times people have the attitude that this is beneath me. This is not for me to do. Right? And here is Aaron, the Kohen Gadol, who's got a whole company of Kohanim under his charge. And he could simply and easily delegate to someone else to take care of it. Now, I think they tell a story about Rav Gifter, Zechron Livracha, who was one of the Rosh Yeshivas, the leaders of the Telz Yeshiva. Telz, of course, was a town in Europe, and the yeshiva there was the Telz Yeshiva, and it was restarted and established here in America in Cleveland. Many of these, the Mir Yeshiva was from the city of Mir. Interesting enough, Satmar Hasidim was from St. Mary. That was the name of the city over there. Right? That's how they got Satmar. Believe it or not. Right? Yeah. So Rav Gifter, one of his students came to him, and he was a young, newly married kollel guy who was tops in learning. And he came to Rav Gifter and he was a little bit miffed, right? And his wife was expecting him to be taking out the garbage, right? And he felt that it wasn't his own honor, heaven forbid, but it's the honor of the Torah. If I am a Torah scholar, then perhaps I shouldn't be taking out the garbage. Rav Gifter, heard what he had to say, said whatever he had to say. Right? He didn't come out, harshly against him at all. Right? The next morning at 7:00, there's a knock on the door. He goes, opens the door, and there's Rav Gifter, Rosh Yeshiva. Yes, you know, I came to take out the garbage.
The story goes that he got himself a garbage can from the
Oh, did he?
sanitation
Can you say what you
Max
said?
Gibson.
Oh, that's
His
fantastic.
English name was Max. He said, Max Gibson here.
Oh, wow, I didn't hear, that's fantastic. Debbie added that the story is he got himself a hat that the sanitational department uses.
I was in the original town of Tells in Lithuania. Went to visit.
Wow.
Amazing. It was Rabbi Chrome. And
Wow.
there were about 100 of us. They took us into the Beit Midrash there.
The
It's
building,
all
what is it?
boarded up.
What is it
The
now?
building is still there.
Wow.
My father got smicha from there, so I can keep you. But my father got smicha from there. And we davened mincha in the yard. And I kept on thinking, this is where my father walked. This is where my father walked.
Wow.
And the building was closed. You couldn't see anything. And in the pitch dark, we spent 45 minutes singing, dancing, and he told us all about what happened. It was just
Wow.
an amazing experience.
Wow, wow, wow.
The building was still.
The building is still in existence,
I mean,
yes.
what's in that building?
Nothing,
now?
it's boarded up. It's a brick building, it's boarded up.
And it's a little like Sandtown tells? Like what is it? Is it a city? Is
It's a
it
small village, it's
a little village?
It's a town.
Yeah.
We went to all of them. We went to Punavis, which is
I've
a bakery.
been to-
Punavis is a bakery
I've
now.
been there, yeah.
Are there any Jews there?
Not really.
No.
Occasionally you find one or two. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
No.
Wow, it's amazing. So Debbie said that, and his English name, of Gifter, Mordechai Gifter, his English name was Max. So when he came there, he said, Max Gifter here to take out the garbage.
He was an American.
Yes,
So,
yes.
you know, he had American sense of humor.
Yeah.
It was all different.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe Rav
It's
Gifter.
less class-oriented
Yeah.
in America.
Yeah, he could handle himself
Yeah.
in the American
Debbie,
culture.
correct me if I'm wrong. Rav Gifter, as far as I mean, I just in the vein, I'm speaking in a good way, in the vein of Rabbi Akiva. I think he went to public school and then joined
He was
yeshiva.
from Chicago.
Yeah,
He was from Chicago.
Yeah.
He was an American boy.
yeah. Went to
He
he
went
went to public
to Europe
school.
to study.
I have his
Torah.
biography.
And that's where he became who he was.
Yeah.
So post high school, he went to Europe. It's fascinating that there were people then who would. So what year was that?
Yeah.
The 30s.
In the 30s.
In the 30s.
There were a number of people in America. It was such an such an unusual thing to do. I think Rav Scheinberg.
Quite a few
Yeah,
went.
Rav Scheinberg, Rav Scheinberg, Rav Pinchas Scheinberg.
Yeah.
Also, you know,
Yeah.
it was those who became, you know, really the American-born, you know, Torah leaders, Roshi yeshivas. They no,
He came back before.
yeah, they went.
Survivors, the yeshiva had two of them under the yeshiva were here collecting for the Tel yeshiva. Their wives and families were all decimated. They built a new yeshiva here, and Rabbi, who was the major Rosh Yeshiva of that yeshiva, he sensed that his wife and children were gone, but he never spoke about it. But when it came at the end of the war, that they finally told him. Then he eventually remarried and rebuilt a complete family. They all did. They all did. They remarried and built families. You look at the Kloisenberg Rebbe, who had 13 children that he lost, and he remarried and built another family. Rabbi Weissmandel had raised 6 children here, second marriage. They had to, and that's how the Torah will expand.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's amazing. You know, we compare that now, how you know, post high school, let's go to Israel for the year, you know, and compared to what it was.
Imagine the feelings these people had. They lost everything.
Yeah.
They had to rebuild. They were determined.
It depends.
All of
Because
them.
my grandfather was from Lithuania and he studied in the yeshiva in the Vilna, and he was going back and forth walking to learn. And he came early in the 1900s because of all what was going on. He left his father, who was a rabbi. He left his whole family. He came back when he was 16. But it's a different, you know, he was a shaychet, he was a chazan, but it's, you know, he never heard of, he left and never heard of him again.
Yeah,
It was too much.
Lithuanian Jews were
My
decimated.
husband's
Yes,
completely.
he never spoke
We had
about them
survivors
again.
from Hungary and a few
Yeah.
from Poland. Most
From
of
a
them
little
Hungary.
skimyan, from a little
Hungary was
village
the
in
only one
Lithuania.
where there was some
Because
survivors
Hungary
because
started
they came late. The Germans,
in 1944 they started drowning Jews.
Sorry?
In Hungary, the Germans and Hungarians started rounding up Jews and sending them to
Only
concentration
in
camps
44.
in 1944.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
we do the last.
that's the difference.
And the South African Lithuanian Jews, they came. What year did they come to South Africa?
Yes, but my father-in-law's family, he came with his father, but his grandparents...
In the early 1900s?
Early 1900s, and all their siblings, we don't know.
But there were a lot of Jews in Lithuania
Yeah.
before the war.
Yeah.
They were all, if you go, you see the killing fields there. There they did it differently. Anyway, they did it differently. They didn't have the death camps yet.
No, that's right.
They did it with the killing fields. If you go to Kellam, there's a special place. We said Kaddish, I don't know how many times. We cried the entire week, wherever we went.
It's the same with us.
It's just, you went?
Yeah.
It's the killing fields you see in the Chafetz Chaim cemetery, the cemetery in Radin. They say there are 30,000. In Kellam, there are 13,000 in a meadow. So we said Kaddish for everybody.
Wow.
Exactly.
Okay, one other thought about this, and we'll move on a little further. We have a little more time. Of Lo Shina, right? He didn't change, and this also speaks to what I said before to you, to Rachel, that Lo Shina. How many of us look back at the time that davening became meaningful for us, and how uplifting it was to daven, how uplifting it was, whether it was Shabbos candles, whether it was whatever it is, at the point that something became meaningful to us. And then we look at ourselves now, 40 years later, right? Still doing it. But, not quite the same. Not quite the same. And we sometimes get into a routine. I always say, I catch myself, and I don't say anymore, but if I'm leaving the house towards the evening, what I often would say was, I have to go daven mincha maariv. I say as I was leaving the house to Natalie, to whoever's in the house, I said, what a terrible way of putting it.
Of course.
I have to go daven mincha maariv. Right? I have the opportunity, or this, I'm going to daven mincha maariv, but just, but it's so easy for things to fall into a routine and to become somewhat mechanical. There's a fantastic story, I've told before, about the Satmar Rebbe, that at Hasidic weddings, they have, often at the end of the wedding, they have what's called a badchan. And a badchan is a bit of a comedian, right? And most of the guests finish the wedding, and then just the immediate family, the closest people stay, and they sing and they dance, and the badchan tells jokes. And usually part of the jokes are some good mussar also, some uplifting words, right? But this badchan was going through and he was making, he was being a badchan about each person there, right? And
Roasting.
a little bit, right? And one of the things that he did was the Satmar Rebbe had a very high-pitched voice, and he would daven very beautifully on Yom Kippur. He would be the chazan, the shliach tzibur. So the Rebbe said, "Do something about me." So he did a perfect imitation of the Rebbe's voice and the Rebbe's davening on Yom Kippur.
But that's not nice.
Well, the Rebbe asked him to do it.
Still.
And the Rebbe started to cry. And he felt really bad. He felt, he maybe overstepped over here. He had, embarrassed or humiliated, like you were saying, Rachel, he had embarrassed or humiliated, the Rebbe. And he started to apologize. And the Rebbe said, no. You're misunderstanding. You're misunderstanding why I'm crying. You did such a beautiful, perfect imitation of me. It made me wonder, am I imitating myself every year? Am I just imitating myself every year? Was that how I davened the first time, and now every year I'm just imitating myself? And a question that we need to ask ourselves, are we imitating ourselves? Or are we putting ourselves in fully? There's this concept of hitchadshut, which is renewal, right? The root of the word is chadash, new. And are we doing what we need to do in our lives to keep ourselves inspired, to keep ourselves renewed, to keep ourselves energized, good Dover, to keep ourselves refreshed? Or are we going through the motions? Are we imitating ourselves?
It's the same question, or his statement. He did not change. So he did not change.
He did not change, meaning over time, that intensity and that fervor and that wonderment, that didn't change. That he maintained. He maintained that. I think they tell a story about the bub of a Rebbe. I forget the exact pasuk he worked off of. They were having a meeting and they need to get something from the store, right? And no one really wanted to get up and do it. So he said, "No, I'll take care of it." And they thought he was going to go call someone to do it. He ran to the store and brought it back. So they were all aghast that he went and did it. And I'm not getting the pasuk right now. There's a pasuk which said, "Don't let the child go." Or I'll get it by next. I'll find it. And he applied that pasuk to say about himself, about ourselves, "Don't let our child go." Right? Meaning, keep that youth, keep that energy. So the praise of Aaron is Loshina, right? And we need to try to take the steps for ourselves to make sure that we, and I'm always, always trying to find, some different approaches that will give us that sense of chiyas, different people who speak in different whatever it is, to give us that chiyas.
So in this situation, our not changing is positive, but I think in our lives, I think change is good and change is important. And it's all about evolving and growing. And especially with everything that we deal with on a daily basis and the challenges that we face, that if we, you want to keep that youthful innocence, blah, blah, blah. That's all great, but we need to change. We need to keep growing. So it's being aware.
Yeah.
And
so, and the way to have that renewed spirit is by growth, is by seeing new aspects.
So we have to do that, because if we sit and we just daven, it's going to be growth in everything in our lives. So I think, in this situation with our own, that's different. That's something, but for us as individuals in Irvine in 2015,
but I don't see that as being contradictory at all, right? The way for us to keep that energy and not to change in terms of our energy is by constantly growing.
Right, it's continual growth.
Yeah, Amy.
I think what you said earlier about. That's why it is the question or the statement. He did not change. he never lost that. He could always see the spiritual
Right.
connection, and that's
And probably, and to combine it, right, he didn't change in his level of devotion because he was constantly finding that hitchadshut, that new area.
which. Okay, in all of these questions, you said we're seeing basically the opposite of the perfection. This whole journey of the difficultness, the struggle, the horrible things that go on. We must always try to find the blessings, find the bright light in all of that's not changing.
Could you say the last sentence? Didn't carry here. I didn't hear it.
Say it again, Amy.
In all of the struggles and challenges in life, today's life, and even back then, not changing means always trying to find the blessings, trying to get back to the spiritual connectedness.
Yeah, and focusing on the blessings. Yeah. Dove?
I was going to say something. I know the menorah is kind of high, right? And there's actually a couple of steps actually there, right? So sometimes, you're very tired, you don't want to do something. He had to not just do something out of totally mundane. You feel this incredible honor to just go up that step to like the menorah. And we should feel that about Torah every day.
I'll just share one other story before we end about a Badchan and the Satmar Rebbe. It's also a great story. So the Badchan is going around making fun of everyone, and the Rebbe says, "No, me. You're the Rebbe. No, me. So no, you're the Rebbe. No, please, me." He says, "Okay." So the Badchan said like this. He said, the Heilige Rebbe, the wonderful, uplifted Rebbe, that's you and me, the Badchan. Right? The guy they hired to tell some jokes at the end of the wedding. The Rebbe and the Badchan. He said, let's see what's the difference between the Rebbe and the Badchan. And he said like this. Whatever the Badchan knows, the Rebbe also knows. So we're the same. Whatever the Rebbe doesn't know, me, the Badchan, I also don't know. So we're also the same. So what makes the Rebbe, and the Badchan? That which the Rebbe knows and the Badchan does not know. Okay. So let's take on one side of the scale everything the Badchan knows and the Rebbe knows. On that same side of the scale, we put everything the Rebbe doesn't know and the Badchan doesn't know. And compare that to what the Rebbe knows and the Badchan doesn't know. And with the Rebbe and the Badchan. And again, the Rebbe started to cry. And he started to apologize. And the Rebbe said, no. I'm not crying because I'm insulted. I'm crying because you taught me such a beautiful lesson in humility, in anivus. Right? How different are we really than anyone else? Right? So where is the pride? Where's the negative? And pride, it's good to have pride in the right things, but arrogant pride, where does that come in? Where does that sense of better than the other, right? Where does that come in? That's another Rebbe and the Badchan story. Okay, my friends, we'll call it over here. Yasher koach, everybody. So I can't see what these are, but I imagine I'm supposed to see these. Oh yes! So Sunday, June 7th, the Day of Inspiration. This Sunday, right, 10:30 to 1. We're going to be hearing from
Rachel Gilman, Mrs. Gilman.
Mrs. Gilman, Shauna Siegel.
Yes.
And Ben Crum.
Beautiful. So please come and enjoy. And Wednesday we have the Kosher Cafe from 6 to 8. South African cuisine. So do RCP in the office so we know exactly how many people are coming or an idea. But it's delicious stuff. So come and enjoy.
Happy birthday.